Hey you. Yes, you with the good taste in videos. Where are you watching from? A sleepy town? A crazy big city? Type it in the comments and give this video some wings by sharing it. Let's get things rolling. Tonight, my wife isn't home. She's spending the night at her boyfriend's place. Yes, boyfriend. How do I know? She told me herself. I didn't realize just how blind I'd been until the moment she said it out loud. The only reason I even found out was because of a mistake she made months back. She left her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while trying to soothe our crying kids. I happened to pass by, and there it was, a string of messages to someone saved only as S. It didn't sit right with me. Curiosity won out, and I scrolled up a few lines. That's when my stomach turned, and my entire world shifted. At the time, I didn't grasp how far those texts would unravel my life. I didn't see how different everything would be in the months that followed, or how much I'd lose along the way. And now, here we are. Tonight she dressed to the nines, slung an overnight bag over her shoulder, and walked out the door. She kissed the girls goodnight, reminded them to behave for me, and then turned toward me. She leaned in for a kiss, but I angled my face away so she barely grazed my cheek. I couldn't let her lips touch mine, not after she confessed she was with another man. What does that make me? A fool clinging to scraps of dignity? I get it. This is the modern world. People act like marriage doesn't require exclusivity anymore. But I guess I'm wired differently. Call me old-fashioned, but I can't just wave it off. After Lena admitted she wanted to keep seeing him, I spiraled through every stage of grief, anger, denial, bargaining, you name it. Eventually, I landed somewhere bitter and numb. There was nothing I could do to stop her, so I had to figure out how to endure it. Don't mistake me. I'm nowhere near okay. My biggest battle now is learning how to exist inside this mess, and bracing for the damage it's going to leave behind. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind. My name's Jordan Fallon. My wife is Lena Shepard. She kept her maiden name when we married. We've been together for 12 years and have 2 daughters, Bianca and Jessa. Not long after discovering the affair, I booked an appointment with a lawyer. I needed clarity. I needed to know what my options were. I walked into that office burning with anger, ready to scorch the earth. The lawyer let me rant, listened without interrupting, and when I finally finished, she calmly told me what divorce would really mean. Here's the harsh truth. Despite living in Texas where guns are everywhere, shooting your spouse or her lover isn't on the table. Every state now operates under no-fault divorce, and when kids are involved, the courts almost always favor the mother, unless she poses an actual danger, which means custody would go to Lena. She'd likely get the house, the better car, the furniture, and a good chunk of my income to maintain it all. I'd be reduced to alternate weekends, maybe a midweek dinner, and a couple weeks in the summer. In short, she'd have everything, and I'd be left paying for the privilege of watching her build a new life with someone else. Picture it, me shoved into a rundown apartment, maybe worse, while Lena raises our daughters with another man, and over time, my girls slowly forgetting me. I couldn't stomach it. I asked if there was any way to make her leave instead. The lawyer shot me down immediately, said forcing her out would backfire. If I turned things hostile, Lena could file for a court order and I'd be the one packing bags. Zero leverage. In other words, I was trapped. Then came her advice, the kind I thought was just an urban legend. She suggested I stay married, keep the peace, and look the other way. Cheaper to keep her, basically. As humiliating as it felt, I couldn't argue with the logic. If I endured this, I could keep my house, my kids, my money. If I didn't, I'd lose them all. I weighed it for days. Staying meant swallowing every ounce of pride I had left. Leaving meant giving up everything that mattered. The thought of some stranger stepping into my role, calling the shots with my daughters, chilled me to the bone. I couldn't let that happen. So here I am, living in this limbo, married on paper, hollow in reality, bound by vows that mean everything to me and apparently nothing to her. Those promises, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others. I still cling to them. She doesn't. To her, they're just lines in a ceremony, flexible, disposable, easier to toss aside when someone else catches your eye. I can't help but look back on it now with a twisted kind of humor, sarcasm coating every detail like rust on old metal. Weeks after I found out, long enough for the sharp, violent anger to settle into something colder, I finally sat Lena down to talk about what was left of us. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat there, hands folded neatly in front of her, expression unreadable. I cracked open a beer, dragged out a chair at the kitchen table, and stared her down. "Help me understand," I said, voice already trembling. "How exactly does this work? How do we stay married when you're sleeping with someone else?" Her eyes didn't waver. "Jordan, you're missing the point. I'm still your wife. I love you. We're still going to grow old together. What I have with Shane, it's once a week, that's all. He gives me something you can't give right now, no matter how hard you try." I buried my face in my hands, then looked up and rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. "What does that even mean? You're saying I'm not enough anymore? That's what this boils down to?" "No!" she shot back immediately. "That's not it. That's exactly what you just said." My voice rose, jagged and raw. "Jordan, if you'd just let me finish," she snapped, then forced herself calm. "I love you. I would never keep anything from you." "Oh, fantastic. That fixes everything." My words dripped venom. "Thanks for the pity, Lena. I guess I should be grateful for whatever scraps you're offering." I stormed away from the table, yanked open another beer, and let the cap clang into the trash. Lena followed me quietly, her hand settling on my shoulders like a plea. "Jordan," she whispered, voice trembling now, "I know I screwed up. Let me fix it. Come upstairs. Let me show you I still love you." I barked out a bitter laugh. "Why would I want that? You've made it perfectly clear I'm not enough. Go pack your bags. Move in with Shane. Sounds like he's the one who makes you happy." I shoved my chair back, walked out before I said something worse, fists clenching with the urge to smash everything in sight. Instead, I locked myself in my basement office and slammed the door shut behind me. That was the beginning. The first step toward living with a wife who didn't apologize for cheating. The next morning, while she was out, I made my own move. Everything of hers, clothes, makeup, perfume, all of it, went straight to the basement spare room. I even cleared the bathroom down there. When she came home and found the empty closets upstairs, she lost it. "Jordan, where are my things? What the hell did you do?" I leaned against the doorway, calm as a predator waiting for the right strike. "Since you're clearly thinking about him when you're in my bed, I figured we should stop sharing one. Your room's in the basement now. You can come and go as you please." She froze, completely silent. "You're welcome," I added coldly, turning my back on her. "Now you don't have to fake enjoying me anymore." After that, the house turned to ice. We barely spoke for days. Lena's perspective. What now? I can't sleep down there in that damp, freezing basement. Not happening. As soon as Jordan leaves for work, I start moving everything back. The girls, Bianca and Jessa, watch me from the hallway, eyes wide and uncertain. They don't ask questions. I don't offer answers. I just keep moving, folding, cleaning, pretending everything's normal. By the afternoon, I switch gears. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, peas, Jordan's favorite comfort meal. Nothing fancy, just something I know he loves. When Jordan comes home, dinner's almost ready. I tell him to get the girls washed up. He does it without a word. At the table, only the kids talk, rambling stories about school, friends, anything but us. Jordan smiles faintly at them, nods, listens, but never looks at me. After dinner, he clears the table, does the dishes, doesn't complain. Whoever cooks, the other cleans. That's the unspoken deal now. He tucks the girls in, reads them a story, switches off the light. Then he disappears into his office, typing long into the night. By the time he crawls into bed, he's already showered, brushed, silent. He turns his back to me, pulls the sheet tight, and walls himself off. I reach for him. He pushes my hand away. Weeks drag by. The house stays cold. I tell myself it can't last forever. He has to forgive me eventually. Shane means nothing. Jordan is my husband. This family is everything. Jordan again. Months pass. I still can't bring myself to touch her. The frustration never really fades. It simmers under my skin day and night. To keep from exploding, I start running at 5 a.m. At first, every step feels like punishment. Lungs on fire, knees screaming, feet blistered. The first week is pure hell. By the third week, the pain dulls. I keep going. Running is better than breaking something, better than breaking her. The ache that had once gripped my body was fading. Mornings no longer felt like a fight just to get moving. In fact, I started to welcome them. Each day I could push myself a little farther, and by the end of the second month, I was logging over 6 miles daily. The weight came off bit by bit. My body felt lighter, healthier. My mind, though, that was another battle entirely. I knew I had to do something. But what? The thought that kept circling back was a trailer. I'd been quietly entertaining the idea for ages, buying a trailer and a truck so I could take the kids camping. Really? What was I risking by finally going for it? I couldn't stop imagining Lena's reaction. What would she complain about this time? I could practically hear her voice. Why on earth would you need a trailer? And I already knew the line I'd throw back. Why on earth do you need a boyfriend? What argument could she possibly have against that? To test the idea, I took the kids to an RV show. Excited didn't even begin to cover it. They were over the moon. Bianca and Jessa instantly dove into planning imaginary trips, mapping out where they'd store their things, picturing campfires and national parks. I walked in with a reasonable budget in mind, but it didn't take long to realize that comfortable modern trailers cost far more than I had hoped. And of course there was the matter of the truck. A rig that size needed serious muscle to haul it, and trucks like that aren't cheap. Fuel costs alone were enough to make me pause. I found myself standing at a fork in the road. Do I go all in and do it right, or cut corners and regret it later? The girls' faces made the choice for me. Their excitement tipped the scale. After weeks of searching, I found it. A barely 2-year-old Grand Design Transcend. Bunk beds for the girls, a double for me, 1.5 bathrooms, and just about every feature we'd need for comfortable trips. 2 TVs I hoped we'd never bother to turn on. Air conditioning. Nearly 37 feet of space. A beast, but perfect. The next step was finding a truck tough enough to tow it. Luck was on my side. I stumbled onto a low-mileage GMC 2500 HD Denali crew cab, also 2 years old, with a diesel engine. An older couple was selling it. Her health had forced them to scrap their travel plans and relocate closer to friends in Portugal's Algarve, a haven for retirees. The deal was solid, and I took it. In total, I sank about $80,000 into the trailer and the truck, but it was worth every penny. This was my chance to show the kids the country, to give them something unforgettable. I wanted Lena to see that too, to understand this moment wouldn't last forever, and she could either share it or miss it entirely. And if she chose to miss it, that was her decision, and her loss, even if she couldn't see it yet. Months later, Lena was with Shane. "So, Lena," Shane said, "I heard Jordan and the kids went camping. Why didn't you go with them?" Silence stretched between them before she finally muttered, "I don't know. I'm still mad at him for buying that trailer." "So you're not into camping?" "That's not it," she shot back quickly. "It's him trying to control me." "Control you how?" "He's furious I spend time with you. I told him, he doesn't own me. It's my body. I can do whatever I want." "Didn't you tell me you two had an understanding? That this was okay between you?" "Kind of," Lena admitted. "I didn't ask permission. I just told him this is what I'm doing. It doesn't take anything away from him." Shane chuckled. "Sounds like he's mad because you lied about it. When you married him, did you ever think monogamy wasn't going to work for you?" Lena hesitated. "So," Shane pressed, "you never actually told him you'd be sleeping with me?" "No," she said quietly. "He found out. How? She exhaled. He saw my phone on the counter, the text I sent you. Then he went through my purse and found the condoms, the same ones we use, for anal. He pulled out the box, set it on the table, and just stared at me. Then he asked, "Who the hell is S, and why do you have these in your purse?" I knew I was caught, so I tried to bluff. I said, "Why can't I have a box of condoms?" He just stared at me, waiting. I had nothing else to say. That's when the fight started? "Our first real fight," she whispered. A lot of yelling, ugly words. I shouted that he didn't own me, that it's the 21st century and I get to decide what I do with my body. How did he react? He didn't. He just stood there shaking his head. Then he walked out. And you? I left, came here. Shane nodded slowly. I remember. He hesitated, then asked, "Are you going to leave him?" Lena let out a bitter laugh. "Leave Jordan? I love him. I love our kids. I've always adored this house. The life we've built here, our routines, our memories, feels complete to me. I never wanted anything to change. But do you honestly think Jordan won't eventually hate you for being with someone else? He's not stupid. He'll realize sooner or later that this affair doesn't mean a thing to you, or to him either. Nothing's going to change. It'll all stay just as it's always been." Shane arched a brow at me. "You might want to rethink that. Your husband's not exactly going to enjoy being second place to your side guy." "Second place? What are you even talking about?" I shot back. He smirked. "If it were me, I'd toss you out just for fun." "Why would you even say that?" I demanded. No guy wants to hear his wife's in bed with someone else, at least not any normal guy. Is he, I don't know, into watching? God, no. My answer came sharp, almost too fast. Jordan isn't like that. Shane's expression hardened. "So, are you even still sleeping with him?" Lena hesitated, her silence stretching. Not for a while." A heavy pause filled the air. "That can't be good," Shane pressed. "What do you think?" she said quietly. "Do you think he's okay with this? What am I supposed to do?" Her voice broke when she added, "He doesn't even want to touch me anymore." "Any idea why?" Shane asked. Lena stared at nothing, lost. "How do I make him want me again?" Shane chuckled low. "Sweetheart, you're in way over your head." "Be honest," he continued. "Are you planning on leaving him? Because from where I'm standing, that's exactly where this is heading." "What? No!" Lena snapped. "I don't want to leave him. I love him and our kids. I could never walk away from them." "But isn't that basically what you've already done?" Shane said, voice calm but cutting. "Look, I enjoy being with you, but marrying you, that's never happening and you know it." "Yes," Lena whispered, "I know." "Then listen carefully," Shane said. "If you want to hold on to your husband and your kids, you'd better fix this fast. Otherwise he'll walk, and you'll be the one left behind." "You think I should stop seeing you?" she asked, tentative. "Probably your only chance," Shane replied. "Get him back into your bed. Give him what you've been giving me. It's not complicated." He gave her a dry look. For someone so sharp, you can be unbelievably thick sometimes. Just make him feel wanted again. Lena stayed silent, the weight of his words sinking in. After a while, Shane asked, "Do you even like your life right now? Your family? This home?" "Of course I do," she said without hesitation. "Then picture this instead, a cramped one-bedroom apartment. You see your kids on weekends, if you're lucky. Sound good?" His grin was razor sharp. Why would I want that?" "Exactly," Shane said. "So here's what you do. Go home, fix it, and hope to God it isn't too late. Otherwise, start hunting for a new place to live, because once he's done, he's done." Lena left Shane's apartment deep in thought. Had she already crossed a line with Jordan? She couldn't tell. Shane's words echoed in her mind. "Give Jordan what you've been giving me." The question was, would Jordan even want it? Or had she already lost him for good? Jordan's point of view, I finished packing up the trailer and helped the girls gather their stuff. We were headed to a state park in eastern Carolina for a week of camping. The forecast promised clear skies with just a sprinkle or two, perfect for hiking. I hadn't planned for Lena to join us. I packed everything with just me and the girls in mind. Once we were ready, we loaded up the truck and hit the road. The trip turned out better than I expected. The weather stayed gorgeous. We hiked every day, explored the trails, and even spent an afternoon at a nearby water park. The kids loved it. Strangely, Lena's absence didn't seem to bother them as much as I'd feared. They even mentioned noticing how rarely she was around lately, something I hadn't realized they'd picked up on. I didn't know how to tell them this wasn't about them. It was all about Lena. Damn, I was running late. Lena's point of view, Jordan and the girls left for their trip without me. The only thing he left behind was a short note on the kitchen table. Heading south for the week, back Sunday. That was it. I called Shane the moment I read it. They're gone camping. What am I supposed to do now? He sighed into the phone. You really messed this up. Better pray he comes back with the kids, because if he doesn't, you're done. There's nothing I can do for you. If you want to save your family, figure it out yourself. Good luck. Then he hung up. Jordan's point of view. The week flew by. By Sunday night, we were on the road home. Work started again in the morning, and the kids had summer activities lined up for the week. Hopefully, Lena would help with rides, if she could pull herself away from her boyfriend long enough to act like she still cared. We pulled into the driveway, and I guided the car into the usual spot without thinking. The girls didn't wait for me to even kill the engine. They scrambled out and started ushering me toward the house, just like they'd done countless times before. What I didn't expect was to see Lena already on the porch, waiting. She stepped forward with arms outstretched, greeting them like it was some big reunion. One by one, they hugged her and disappeared into the house, lugging their overflowing bags of camp laundry behind them. I hung back for a while, busying myself with the camper. I hooked it up to the power outlet, cleared out the leftover trash, made sure everything was squared away. Lena stayed nearby, close enough to look helpful but never actually lifting a finger. That's how she always did it, acting present without truly being involved. Glad you're back, she said, her voice deliberately bright. The house has felt so empty this week. I glanced at her out of the corner of my eye while I worked on the wiring. Empty, huh? How'd things go with your boyfriend? She didn't bite. Instead, she asked, Where'd you guys end up camping? I let out a short laugh, sharp around the edges. Why do you care? You've always hated camping. Just curious, she replied smoothly. It was a new spot down in North Carolina, I muttered. Near a water park. The kids loved it. When the camper was squared away, I went inside, dumped the dirty laundry into the wash, and started the cycle. The girls were already scrubbing off the camp grime, so I told them to clean up while I figured out dinner. After a quick shower of my own, I rolled up my sleeves in the kitchen and got to work. Lena hovered in the doorway. I can handle that, she offered suddenly. Let me make dinner tonight. Something about her tone was different, softer maybe, like she actually cared. That's fine, I said, brushing her off. I've got leftover spaghetti and meatballs from the trailer, won't take long. Maybe it came out harsher than I intended, but honestly, what reaction was she expecting? Later we all sat around the table, steam rising from our plates, while the girls chattered about their trip. Lena laughed in all the right spots, nodding at every story, pretending she was fully present. It was strange. Usually she tuned out anything to do with camping. Usually her mind was somewhere else, with someone else. Halfway through dinner, I asked casually, You heading out tonight? No, she said evenly. Good, I replied. We need to figure out this week. Drop-offs, pickups, schedules, I figured I'd be doing it all, but... I can handle the pickups, she interrupted. Every day if you want. I stared at her, caught off guard. And that's not gonna interfere with your time with Shane? My family comes first, she said, locking eyes with me. What a joke. For months, we hadn't even been second on her list. Still, something was different. I couldn't place it, but I needed to. Months crawled by, strange months. Lena and I settled into something that wasn't quite peace and wasn't quite war, more like a reluctant truce. I'd confronted her outright. I knew about the affair, but I wasn't filing for divorce, wasn't throwing her out. My lawyer spelled it out plainly. In Texas, adultery doesn't swing custody battles. The courts only care about what's stable. Lena liked the arrangement. No messy custody fights, no splitting houses, no chaos for the girls. Truthfully, neither did I. As much as I resented her, I wanted the kids spared. So I stayed. I told myself I'd endure it until they were grown, until graduation gave them the freedom to choose for themselves. That deadline lived in my head like a finish line I couldn't stop staring at. When she finally admitted she wasn't ending things with Shane, that she'd keep seeing him once or twice a week, something hardened in me. I shut down, went silent, shifted into survival mode. That's when I bought the trailer and started taking the girls camping, my own private escape, carved out of necessity. She called it revenge. I called it breathing room. Actions always have consequences. Lena needed to understand that. Lena's perspective told another story. For her, nothing had really changed. Shane fit into her life in neat little pieces, an afternoon here, an evening there. They laughed, talked, escaped the grind of daily life. In those hours, she felt like she belonged to him. It wasn't anything like being with me. After I found out, though, the air between us turned cold. Physical closeness evaporated. Conversations became formal, functional. Every day she felt that growing distance like a wall she couldn't scale. Legally, none of it mattered. Texas law didn't punish infidelity. If I filed for divorce, she'd still walk away with leverage, custody, the house, everything stable in the kids' lives. The system didn't care who cheated. So I started asking myself, if she got to chase happiness on the side, why couldn't I? Why should I be the only one stuck living small while she reached for more? Bit by bit, I started looking elsewhere, for experiences, for people, for moments that made me feel alive again. In time, my persistence began to pay off. The internet was flooded with dating sites, some even tailored specifically to married people looking for secret flings. I stayed far away from those. Not because I considered myself morally above them, but because I valued caution. I had kids to think about, and the last thing I wanted was to accidentally entangle myself with someone dangerous. Maybe that sounds like fear talking, but the thought of becoming some headline about a missing parent never appealed to me. No chance. So I focused on rebuilding my life from a safer, more familiar angle. That meant rediscovering the things I once loved. I joined a nearby cycling group, dusted off my running shoes, picked up an old instrument, and started taking the kids hiking, towing them in a little trailer whenever they were too young to keep up. Slowly, those choices opened doors. I started meeting kind, fascinating women in the process. Over time, some of these friendships deepened. As trust formed, they learned about my complicated family situation, and a few even set me up on dates. That's how I eventually met Danica. She was 3 years younger than me, divorced, and raising a 4-year-old daughter. We'd crossed paths before. She was part of the same cycling club, but we hadn't truly connected until another member, Marilyn, introduced us. Marilyn and Danica were close. One evening, after a group ride, Marilyn invited me to join them for a drink at the pub where the club usually gathered. Normally, I skipped those outings, heading straight home to get the kids ready for school the next day. Not that Lena couldn't manage bedtime, but I always felt like I needed to be there. Danica worked as an orthodontist. She was tall and slender, with dark hair, striking blue eyes, and a sharp wit I quickly came to admire. Her daughter, Mira, was nearly her exact reflection. In the months that followed, Danica and I grew close. We spent more time together, on and off our bikes. From the start, I was up front with her. I wasn't searching for commitment. I wanted companionship and fun, nothing more. She admitted she felt the same. Her ex-husband had abandoned her and Mira, and she wasn't ready to chase anything serious either. One afternoon, while we were talking about our childhoods, she confessed she'd never stayed in a trailer. Her family had always camped in tents. That gave me an idea. I invited her and Mira to join my kids and me on a glamping trip. That's where everything began. Lena, meanwhile, couldn't have cared less about camping. She spent most of her free time with her boyfriend, and I didn't see any reason to tell her about Danica or our trips. If the courts didn't care, why should I? A year slipped by. By then, Jordan, had reached my breaking point. The silence between Lena and me had grown too heavy, the unspoken truths too sharp. It felt like the whole world had been off balance for far too long, and I was finally ready to set it straight, to confront what had been festering. I knew Lena wasn't going to be the faithful partner she once promised to be, and I needed to come clean with Danica about where we stood. That Friday night, after dinner, I poured Lena a glass of wine and grabbed a beer for myself. I handed her the glass. She looked at me, confused. "What's this about?" she asked. "Are you in love with him?" I said. "With who? What are you talking about?" "It's simple. Are you in love with him?" She stared at the wine instead of at me, took a slow drink. "Come on, Lena. You know exactly who I mean. You started this. Now we need to face it." The kids were tucked away in the TV room. There was never going to be a perfect moment for this talk, but this was close enough. I don't drink much these days, but every now and then, I still like a good IPA. I lifted my bottle and spoke again. "So, what's it going to be? The easy way, or the way that ruins us both?" "What are you even talking about, Jordan?" Her voice sharpened. "How long have you known?" "You tell me," I shot back. "How long have you been seeing other men while we were married? How long did you think you could keep this up?" "Why does it matter?" she muttered, swallowing another mouthful of wine. "It matters because I want the truth," I said. "Did you ever honestly picture us growing old together while sneaking around like this, sharing a bed with me one night and someone else the next?" She finally met my eyes. "Why bring it up now? Things are fine. We've both moved on. Why tear it apart?" I shook my head. "I know what you've been doing. But do you have any idea what I've been doing?" "Well," she said slowly, "you take the girls camping all the time. You ride your bike. You stay busy." "Yeah," I replied, my voice tightening. "I've been busy. The girls and I started camping more after I realized where I stood with you. And yeah, I've done other things too." Lena looked at me strangely, part curiosity, part indifference, as if she wanted the details but feared what those details would mean. She had convinced herself she was untouchable, that if we split, I'd lose the most and the kids would suffer for it. She counted on me to shield the kids from every possible danger. That was her safety net. The unspoken agreement that I'd always put them first gave her room to do whatever she wanted. She knew I'd bleed for those kids if I had to. What she didn't see coming was that I had a plan too. "Lena," I said, voice steady but hard, "you still haven't answered me. Do you even love this guy? Is this what you really want?" "Jordan, I don't exactly have a boyfriend," she muttered, her tone wavering. "For God's sake, Lena, quit pretending," I snapped. "How long have you been sleeping with Shane? And how many came before him? Better yet, are both those girls even mine? How long have you been stringing me along like this?" "You've been a terrible wife. You know it. And if you don't, let me spell it out. I hate being with you. I hate what this marriage has turned into. Hell, it hasn't even felt like a marriage for 2 years. But tonight that stops. Tonight, you find out what happens next." What do you mean?" she stammered, nervous. "Don't honey me. I'm not your safety net. I'm the guy you keep around to pay bills while you run off to play house with your boyfriend. We hadn't touched each other in months. Neither of us had even tried to fix it." Lena said nothing, just stared at the floor. I pushed forward. "It's over. We're figuring out how to end this joke of a marriage, right now." Her eyes lifted, wide. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to leave." The words hung between us like a blade about to fall. Her wine glass clicked against the table as she stared at me, stunned. "I'm not leaving this house, Jordan. That's insane. This is my house too," she shot back. "Well, from where I'm standing, you'd rather be with him than here with your family," I said coldly. "So decide, Lena." I stood up, drained the last of my beer, and slammed the glass onto the table. My chest burned. Rage clawed its way up my throat. I knew I had to step outside before I exploded, but the line had been drawn, and I wanted to see what she'd do about it. I need a lawyer, Lena thought, stomach twisting in panic. I have to find someone who can make sure Jordan can't throw me out. Why can't he just drop this? But even as she asked herself that, another voice whispered, "You've denied him plenty, haven't you?" The intimacy was gone. He hadn't touched her in months. She'd known for a long time. He didn't want her anymore. If she couldn't make him want her again, things might spiral. But divorce didn't scare her. She knew the system. She'd get the kids, she'd get the house, she'd get a check every month. The courts almost always sided with the mother. Jordan couldn't force her out. She just had to wait. She told herself she still loved him. But Shane? Shane gave her something Jordan didn't. Excitement, a spark she couldn't resist. She swore it was temporary. Eventually, she and Jordan would fix things, repair the wreck they were living in. But for now, she needed both. Meanwhile, I was done. Lena thought I'd put up with her lies forever. She was about to find out how wrong she was. Quietly, I started rearranging everything. I opened an account with only my name on it, moved half of our savings over, and had my paycheck sent there too. Each month I left just enough in the joint account to cover bills, nothing extra. If Lena wanted luxuries, she'd pay for them herself. The free ride was over, she'd see soon enough. Lena, meanwhile, was preparing her own counterattack. She visited a family lawyer who explained how the state handled these things. No-fault divorce, primary custody for the mother, child support, spousal maintenance. The lawyer asked about their finances, property, debts, and, carefully, whether Lena's affair could be used against her. Lena swore she was a good mother, but as she walked out of the office, doubt chewed at her. Would Jordan expose her cheating? Could this explode into a war in court? "Danica," Jordan said into the phone later that week, his voice low and tired. "You up for camping next weekend?" Plans were made, a brief escape, but the battle with Lena had only just begun. Mira can hardly contain her excitement. She loves the warm, peaceful vibe inside Jordan's trailer, the way it feels tucked away from the rest of the world. At night, the three girls climb into the bunk beds at the back, whispering secrets and stifling giggles long after bedtime. Jordan and I retreat to the front room, door closed, enjoying the rare quiet. I still can't fathom how Jordan's wife could treat him the way she does. It baffles me. How could anyone be so blind or so careless as to let a man like Jordan slip through her fingers? He embodies everything you could want in a partner. Good looks, sharp mind, boundless energy, and a natural talent for nearly everything he tries. His grin brightens any room, and his witty, dry humor never fails to make both me and the kids laugh. Even in his smallest gestures, it's obvious how deeply he cares for the people around him. What breaks my heart is knowing his wife doesn't seem to return that care, not for him, and not even for their daughters. Her neglect has become my opening. I walked away from a man too selfish to even try being a father, and I've built my life around my daughter, who means the world to me. From the moment I met Jordan, I could sense the weight he carried, responsibilities far heavier than anyone should bear alone. Over time, it became painfully clear. His wife was exploiting him. She wanted all the perks of marriage without giving anything back, trying to keep one foot in and one foot out. Marilyn, the mutual friend who introduced us, confided plenty about their relationship, how his wife mocked him openly, never even pretending to hide her disdain. Because I understood how divorce laws worked in our state, I realized immediately what kind of trap Jordan was in. If he filed for divorce, he risked losing custody of his daughters, a loss he couldn't stomach. So he stayed quiet, endured, and waited for the right moment, hoping time would eventually tip the scales. When Jordan and I first crossed paths, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I had my career, my daughter, and zero interest in tying myself down again. But I craved companionship, someone to laugh with, to share small, ordinary moments. Jordan turned out to be exactly that. Traveling with him and his girls became an unexpected gift, something that brought joy to me and my daughter in ways I hadn't imagined. Mira bonded instantly with his daughters. They treated her like family, which warmed me to my core. Our biggest trip together? 9 unforgettable days in Florida. We parked the trailer near Disney, spent 2 full days lost in the magic of the park, hiked scenic trails, and relaxed on sun-soaked beaches. It was the kind of trip that etches itself into a child's memory forever. Jordan admitted he loved every second of it, and from the way his daughters beamed, I knew they felt the same. We've already started daydreaming about what comes next. Meanwhile, back home, Lena, Jordan's wife, was busy plotting her own move. While Jordan and the girls were away in Florida, she spent the week in meetings with her lawyer, securing her footing just in case Jordan made the first legal move. Her attorney, Claire Barnett, was a veteran in family law, famous for her blunt honesty and no-nonsense approach. When Lena stepped into Claire's office, she came seeking reassurance. "Last time we spoke," Lena began, "you told me if Jordan files for divorce, I'd keep the kids, the house, and get support payments. Does that still hold true?" Claire gave a measured nod. "That's typically how courts lean. Mothers often do receive custody. But," she added, leaning forward, "there are exceptions. If Jordan can prove he's the better parent, custody could swing in his favor. Nothing is guaranteed." Lena stiffened. "What kind of exceptions are we talking about?" "If the court finds a mother unfit or less involved, they have no problem awarding custody to the father," Claire explained. "Judges prioritize involvement, who's present, who shows up, not just titles. I've seen plenty of cases go that way. Is there anything about your situation I should know? Anything that could weaken your position?" Lena hesitated. Nothing like that." Claire's eyes narrowed. "I can't help you if you're not fully honest. Let's start over. How much time are you really spending with your children?" "I see them," Lena said defensively. "Jordan's the one who takes them camping and goes to school events. I usually don't go. I'm not outdoorsy, and bugs are a nightmare. Plus, my job is demanding. I can't always make it." Claire sighed, holding back frustration. She'd heard this story too many times. Courts rarely cared about excuses. They wanted proof of parenting. Who was there day after day? Who did the heavy lifting? From what she was hearing, Jordan's lawyer would have no trouble painting him as the more involved parent. Lena's absence would speak louder than anything else. The judge wouldn't care that Lena no longer loved her husband, or that Jordan had found comfort with someone else. Affairs mattered less than consistent parenting. Right now, Jordan clearly looked like the stronger candidate. If Lena wanted even a chance, she'd need to turn things around, and quickly. Claire finally spelled it out. "Lena, I need to be frank. Unless you step up as a mother, your chances of winning custody are slim." Lena froze. "What? Are you seeing someone else?" Claire asked, matter of fact. Lena hesitated, then admitted, "Yes." "How often?" "A few times a week," Lena answered quietly. "During the day or at night?" Claire pressed. Lena swallowed hard. "Both, but I'm not gone all the time." Claire stayed silent. The silence said everything. Claire's hand shot up, cutting Lena off mid-word. "If you can't be fully truthful, with me and with yourself, then forget about winning custody of your kids," she said sharply. "Be honest. How much time are you actually spending with your boyfriend?" Lena hesitated before finally confessing how often she saw Shane. Claire's nose wrinkled slightly in disapproval as she jotted brisk notes onto her legal pad. The situation was unraveling faster than anyone wanted to admit. Claire already knew that if custody proceedings moved forward, Lena's choices would create a damning narrative, a mother seemingly prioritizing her romance over her children. In court, that story would be devastating. Jordan, damn him. That night marked the first ripple of consequences for my well-meaning but faithless wife. It was late Saturday. The house sat silent after the kids had collapsed into bed, exhausted from the day. I opened the fridge, grabbed a beer for myself, and placed a bottle of wine on the counter for Lena. She gave me a wary glance, instantly recognizing the signal. When I poured her wine, it meant we were about to have a serious talk. Clearing her throat, she braced herself. "It's kind of late for a beer, don't you think?" she asked carefully. "It's barely 9, I said evenly. "We need to talk." "About what exactly?" "Our marriage," I replied. "The way we've been handling things, day-to-day responsibilities, finances, everything." I leaned in slightly. "We have to spell out who does what, in detail." Lena's brow furrowed. "What are you getting at?" "That we set clear boundaries and divide responsibilities, household duties and money both," I clarified. "I've drafted some points to start. You'll probably have things to add." "Fine," she muttered, taking a long pull from her glass. I sipped my beer, opened my notebook, and began. "First thing, finances. We need to figure out exactly what each of us contributes. I know you weren't happy about me buying the truck and camper, so I'll cover those payments. But the house, the kids, daily expenses, that's on both of us." I paused, letting the words settle before continuing. "We need a basic budget, splitting everything fairly." Lena stared at me like she'd stepped in front of a speeding truck. I laid out what I thought was a reasonable plan for dividing costs. One thing was non-negotiable. I refused to bankroll her relationship with another man. Not happening. She had to understand. If I handled all the bills, I wasn't going to keep carrying her while she spent her time elsewhere. We talked late into the night, cycling through arguments, compromises, and the same tired points. When I finally yawned, stretched, and said I was heading to bed, it was almost 1 a.m. I left the bills and spreadsheets on the desk, hard evidence of reality she could no longer ignore, and went to shower. Later, Lena vented to her confidant. "Jordan wants everything split down the middle, house expenses, the girls' tuition, all of it." She swore softly. "He knows I don't make as much as he does. And when I told him that, he said, 'Maybe you should get a better paying job.' Like it's that easy." But the issue wasn't just money, it was Shane, the time she spent with him. 4 days later, Lena sat across from Claire once again. "So," Claire began, folding her hands on the desk, "what brought you back so soon? Have you decided to file for divorce?" Lena shook her head. "Not yet, but Jordan and I talked last Saturday. He wants everything split 50-50, household costs, raising the kids, all of it." Claire's eyebrows rose, her eyes narrowing. "Tell me exactly what he said." Lena relived the conversation in painstaking detail. Claire listened closely, probing with pointed questions, taking precise notes. The longer Lena spoke, the clearer it became. She wasn't telling the full truth. She was carefully sidestepping the ugliest parts of the story. The truth was brutal. Lena had been seeing Shane behind Jordan's back for almost 3 years. Jordan had found out roughly 2 years ago. After consulting a lawyer, he'd faced the reality. Staying quiet would mean paying for her affair, and possibly losing both his kids and a significant portion of their assets. Claire had seen it countless times before. A loyal husband discovering his wife's betrayal, forced into an uphill battle to protect his children and secure a fair outcome. Everything Lena revealed only confirmed Claire's suspicion. Jordan was preparing for war. He was quietly building the foundation for a separation agreement, the first legal step toward divorce. These agreements weren't mere formalities. They were tactical weapons, defining how assets would be divided and key issues resolved long before a divorce petition even reached the court. The stakes here were enormous. Their 2 daughters. Who would be their primary caregiver? Who would remain in the family home? Lena had no compelling proof she was the better parent. She was pouring her energy into Shane, while Jordan was investing in the children. Family courts didn't ignore those facts. And Jordan, whether Lena grasped it yet or not, was assembling a rock-solid custody case, and he was doing a damn good job of it. I tried to make Lena understand. She was losing her grip on the situation. Things were unraveling fast. Her husband was about to stand in court and declare that their marriage was effectively over, that they were nothing more than roommates sharing a roof. He planned to testify that they hardly spent any time together, that their finances were split straight down the middle. Jordan made more than Lena, which meant he could still provide for the kids once they officially separated. Damn it. Lena, I need Jordan back in my bed, back as my husband. He has to be miserable by now. Months have passed since we were close. If I can just pull him back into our bed, the rest will follow. Old patterns will return. He'll realize this whole thing with Shane is worthless. Just noise. Shane's always survived off Jordan's leftovers anyway. I am Jordan's wife. Whatever's happening with Shane doesn't erase that. Jordan. Lately, Lena's been dropping hints, subtle sometimes, other times glaring, that she wants me again, that she wouldn't hold anything back if I made a move. Each time, a chill runs through me. The idea of touching her now feels ridiculous. I can't imagine being with someone I no longer respect. It's not going to happen. After we put the girls to bed, she'll give me those strange looks, little signals that she's willing. I can't figure out why she's suddenly trying, and honestly, I don't care. All I want is for her to stay out of my way, handle the kids, keep the house running. Everything else, us, is purely mechanical at this point. When the girls head off to college, I'll finally be free. Free to walk away from this sham of a marriage. Lena can go find someone else willing to deal with her craving for attention. Not my problem. Time's ticking. Just a few more months. Jordan, I can't keep doing this. I've been going over it again and again, and I can't ignore the truth anymore. This marriage is dead. Whatever comes next, I'm done pretending otherwise. Danica and I have already started imagining a future together. That means I need to end things with Lena once and for all. Push this wreck over the edge. One last push. That's all it needs. I decided I'd pay Shane a visit. I knew where he worked, knew his address. It was time for a real conversation. About Lena, about him, about whatever fantasy they thought they were living. Wednesday, 6 o'clock. I was leaning against the hood of Shane's car when he returned from work. He was talking on the phone. When he noticed me, the phone slipped out of his hand and hit the pavement. I heard him mutter, "Go to hell." "You might want to grab that," I said evenly. "Those things cost money." He crouched to retrieve it, eyes locked on me. He knew exactly why I was there, and what I might do. But I wasn't about to lose control and end up in jail. That would wreck everything I was planning. "Relax," I told him. "I'm not here to hurt you. Quite the opposite. We need to talk." I nodded toward my vehicle. "Come on, I'll buy you a beer. We'll settle this. Overdue, don't you think?" He scanned the lot for my car. What he saw was an old Subaru Outback I'd borrowed, not the one I usually drove. He moved cautiously, checking the back seat like he expected an ambush. Finally, he climbed in. "Seatbelt," I muttered. I drove us to an Irish pub I hadn't been to in years. Safe, quiet, anonymous. No chance of bumping into anyone I knew. After I parked, I stepped out, locked the doors with a short honk, and headed inside. "Let's go," I called over my shoulder. "It's fine." Inside, I led him to a corner table far from other patrons. I waved over a server, ordered an IPA, and gestured for him to order. "Same," Shane said quietly. The fear coming off him was thick, almost palpable. He didn't look away from me, not once, until the drinks hit the table. I took a sip, forcing my thoughts into order. Every part of me wanted to leap across and pound him into the floor, but that wouldn't solve anything. I stuck to the plan. "All right," I said, voice low and steady. "You and I are going to figure this out." Shane looked like he was about to bolt. "Relax," I repeated. "This might even work out for you, but I need straight answers. If you don't give them, our next talk won't happen in a place this nice." He edged back in his seat, eyes darting toward the exit. "Stay put," I warned. "Answer me and you walk out of here fine. How long have you and Lena been involved?" Shane swallowed, downed a gulp of beer, and finally spoke. "A while." "How long?" I pressed. He hesitated. "Just over 3 years." I sat back, letting that sink in. Relief hit me hard. At least now I knew none of my kids could possibly be his. That turned out to be a small mercy. It kept him from getting pummeled in the dark. "Why even start this with Lena?" I asked, watching Shane's expression twist as though I'd just grown horns. "Seriously," I pushed. "It's not a hard question. How did it even begin between you two?" He let out a sharp breath through his nose. We met, talked a bit. She told me her marriage felt stuck, like she was living the same day on repeat. She said she was bored out of her mind. No excitement, no spark, just kids, work, and chores. He shrugged like that explained it all. So we grabbed a drink one night, and after that, it just kept happening. His brow furrowed, like he didn't even fully understand it himself. I don't know. It just happened. I steeled myself and pushed harder. Do you love her? Are you in this for real? Or is this just a fling you've been enjoying? Shane wouldn't look at me. His eyes stayed glued to the table. Come on, I urged quietly. I'm not here to judge. Just tell me the truth. We're past pretending. He took a long drink before speaking. It's complicated. Yeah, I care about Lena, but not enough to want her to leave you. I like what we have, the freedom. No commitments. He hesitated, then admitted under his breath, I'm not even 30 yet. I'm not ready to settle down with anyone. How many others are there? I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The way he refused to meet my gaze said it all. You're not even exclusive with her, are you? His silent shake of the head confirmed it. I leaned back, letting that reality crash into me. Lena probably thought of him as her escape plan if things with us imploded. But if she knew he wasn't even loyal to her, that would blow up everything. Not that it mattered to me anymore. Listen, I said flatly. When she shows up at your place with her bags packed, don't act surprised. Messing with someone else's wife has consequences, whether you've thought about that or not. I'm not telling her what to do, I added. That's not my role anymore. But don't think I won't act. And you might not like what comes next. Frankly, I don't care. I stood up, tossed $40 onto the table, and walked toward the door. Keep an eye out in dark alleys, I muttered as I left. Lena. I couldn't spend another minute in that house. I went straight to Shane's apartment. He cracked the door open, scanning the hallway before letting me inside. We stayed there for a couple of hours. When it was time for him to leave, he claimed he had a doctor's appointment and practically pushed me out as I pulled my clothes back on. Jordan. A week after confronting Shane, I knew it was time to move forward. My lawyer had every document ready. Lena would be served at home, quietly, no courthouse scene. I had everything I needed, evidence, witnesses, to secure full custody of the girls. Danica stood silently off to the side, letting me gather myself. She and I had become close, closer than I'd ever imagined. Honestly, close didn't even come close. When this divorce was finalized, I wanted her in my life permanently. I loved her, deeply. She drew people in, always alive, always sharp. Her humor kept me laughing, and together we kept the kids laughing too. It felt effortless, like maybe, just maybe, we could be a real family someday. Could we actually make that work? I didn't know yet. First, Lena had to be completely out of the picture. That night, after tucking the girls into bed, I poured Lena a glass of wine and set it in front of her. She knew right away something serious was coming. You need to be home tomorrow morning, I said. Why? You already know why. She exhaled slowly, leaning back in her chair. I knew this was coming. Why do we have to go through with it? She asked quietly. Can't we just live separate lives for a while? Why does it have to end this way? You made this choice, I said, my voice tight. You knew I couldn't accept you having some guy on the side. And you knew the courts don't care about cheating. With 2 kids, you were betting custody would fall to you. You expected me to keep paying the bills while you went off and had your fun. My hands curled into fists. You knew I'd do anything for my daughters, and you still went ahead anyway. All I wanted was a wife who cared enough about her family to stay faithful. But you couldn't do it. You went looking for someone else, and you didn't care what it would do to us. I stepped back, breathing hard, trying to keep my voice steady. Now we'll see what that decision really costs. I walked to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and poured it into a glass. My face was hot. My blood pressure felt like it was through the roof. Sitting back at the table, I set the glass down and stared at her in silence. It's better to face this head-on now than to burn through a fortune on attorneys later. Jordan, I refuse to walk away from this marriage without fighting for it. I love you, and I love the life we've built. I lifted my hand, cutting her off. If that's what you call love, you're failing miserably. And don't bother pretending, I went on. You've shown plenty of affection, just not to me. Shane's been the one getting that. I know it, and so do you. Your behavior says more than any excuse you could give. She didn't flinch. You do realize I'll win custody of the girls, right? You'll see them maybe once a week, every other weekend if you're lucky, and you'll be the one footing the bill. You don't want that, she insisted, almost pleading. Stop this. Forget the divorce. We can fix this, Jordan. We can be us again. Isn't that what you want? Maybe that's what I wanted a year and a half ago, I said softly. Not now. Too much damage has been done. I leaned toward her. Answer me this. Are you ready to cut Shane out of your life completely? The silence after that question felt heavy enough to crush us both. Can't we find a compromise? She tried, her tone edging toward desperation. I'll keep seeing him sometimes. You do whatever you want, and we can still take the girls camping like we used to. They'd love it. You'd love it. Anger stirred in me. Would I? This sudden compromise, where was it before? You only start bargaining when you're cornered, when the lies stop working. I shook my head. Why bring up camping now? I don't want you to throw us away over something meaningless, she whispered, voice trembling. Shane doesn't take anything from you. You adore spending time with the girls, and they adore you. Why ruin that just because I'm with him a few hours here and there? I wanted to answer but held my tongue, revealing my lawyer's strategy would ruin everything when this hit court. Lena, I finally said, I loved you. Deeply. But when you gave yourself to another man, you had to know there'd be consequences. Jordan, I don't love him, she argued quickly. It isn't like that. It's just physical. You and the girls, you're my family. If you came back, I could prove it. Do you love me enough to give me another chance? I stared at her for what felt like forever. Do you love me enough to walk away from him? She looked down at her drink, silent. I thought I did, I muttered. But I know what I have to do now. I stood. Don't go to work tomorrow. That was the last thing I said before leaving the room. The next morning I woke early, dressed the girls, and sent them off to school. Lena and I didn't speak a word. The girls didn't hug her or even smile. They left in silence. My mind was still racing when the doorbell rang. A middle-aged woman stood on the porch, dressed in jeans and a sport coat. A badge clipped to her pocket caught the sunlight. Good morning, are you Lena Shepard? Yes, Lena answered warily. May I see identification? Lena fished her driver's license from her purse. The woman photographed it, slipped her phone away, and produced a large brown envelope from under her arm. You've been served, she said flatly. Before Lena could respond, the woman stepped back, snapped a picture of Lena holding the envelope, and walked briskly to her car. She drove off without another word. Lena stood motionless on the doorstep, staring at the papers in her hands. Divorce papers. She carried them to the dining table and sat down. For a heartbeat, she convinced herself that if she never opened the envelope, none of this would be real. Jordan wouldn't go through with it. Things could return to the way they had been. But she knew better. For the first time, she questioned whether seeing Shane had been a mistake. Pouring herself a glass of water, she stared at the envelope for a long time before finally slicing it open with a knife. What lay inside would change everything. Why couldn't Jordan just let her have this? Eventually, Shane would fade from her life. The girls would grow up, head to college, and she and Jordan could finally travel, do everything they once dreamed of. Work had consumed them both. Affection had slipped through the cracks. Shane had been nothing but an outlet, a distraction. It hadn't felt like it lessened her love for her family, at least not until she confessed. Why had it turned into such a disaster? Shane made her feel alive, made her feel like a better wife and mother. Jordan never would have known if she hadn't said anything. That was the mistake. Confessing. She should have buried it forever. Now everything was falling apart. She needed help. She needed Claire. Claire, her lawyer. The moment Claire saw Lena walk into her office, panic etched on her face. She understood instantly. Jordan had reached his breaking point. The divorce was no longer a threat. It was happening. From my perspective, he had already extended to her more patience than I could ever imagine mustering myself. Yet it wasn't until I combed through the divorce papers drafted by his attorney that the reasoning behind it finally came into sharp focus. The petition laid everything out with brutal precision, a strategy designed to secure full custody of their 2 daughters and maintain his claim on the family home. Each lapse on her part since the affair became public knowledge was meticulously documented. Missed parent-teacher meetings, family trips she never joined, evenings where she failed to pick up or drop off the children, even everyday absences during dinner and bedtime routines, holidays, school events, sports games, all those moments where she had chosen to be elsewhere were neatly catalogued. The portrait painted of Lena Shepherd was damning. It framed her as a mother who, time after time, prioritized Shane Wilder, her lover, over her own children. The petition didn't just describe her absence, it itemized her indiscretions. Even the weekends she spent openly with Shane were detailed, bolstered by statements from mutual friends who had seen the 2 together. I found myself murmuring under my breath while reading, half disbelief, half frustration. The evidence wasn't merely written testimony. There were photographs, too, grainy phone snapshots taken by acquaintances that left little room for doubt. Lena and Shane holding hands, kissing, appearing indifferent to who might witness them. As I sifted through that pile, the weight of her predicament hit me squarely. She sat across the table in silence, rigid in her posture, eyes glued to the surface in front of her. In my mind, I tried to anticipate the questions a family court judge might pose, and wondered how she could possibly answer without burying herself deeper. Hearing her attempt to explain was almost disorienting. The affair alone wasn't what threatened her custody battle. Courts rarely hinge decisions on infidelity itself. What would matter, what would devastate her chances, was the undeniable pattern of neglect toward her children, her repeated choice to put Shane first. That was the detail that would ruin her. I braced myself for the conversation I didn't want to have but knew she needed to hear. She was going to lose. The most realistic outcome for her was bargaining for scraps, personal belongings, a fraction of savings, perhaps jewelry or a vehicle. Jordan's intentions were unambiguous: custody of the children, the family residence, and control of his income to support them. Everything else was secondary. "Lena, have you read through this petition?" I asked, carefully gauging my tone. "I skimmed it," she said hesitantly. "I don't remember much. How do I stop this? Jordan and we're supposed to be a family. My girls need both of us." Her response left me wondering whether she grasped the reality confronting her. Jordan's position was airtight, and every step forward for me would feel like pushing uphill. "Lena," I said gently, "before I can advise you properly, I need to speak with Jordan's lawyer. Remember what we've discussed before about what actually matters to the court in custody decisions." I let the silence stretch just long enough for the weight of my words to settle. "Right now," I admitted, "I don't see you getting the custody arrangement you're hoping for. And as for staying married to Jordan, that isn't going to happen." Her eyes widened. "What are you saying? I can't lose him. He's my husband, the father of my girls. He can't just throw all of this away." Her disbelief cracked through in her voice. Leaning forward, I held her gaze. "You're forgetting something crucial. The law doesn't care about your desire to save this marriage. Jordan has the right to end it, and everything in this petition makes it clear. He's already decided. He wants the children with him, not you." Lena's shoulders sagged as she leaned back in her chair, hands fidgeting in her lap. "This is about Shane, isn't it? Jordan's jealous." "Jealous?" I repeated, unable to hide my incredulity. "You carried on an affair for 3 years. You abandoned your family for another man. Did you really think Jordan wouldn't care?" Her voice barely rose above a whisper. How do I fix this? You can't fix it, I said flatly. The best you can do now is salvage whatever pieces are left. A silence heavier than any argument filled the room. At last, I asked, what outcome did you honestly expect? She had no answer, only a blank stare. It frustrated me more than I cared to admit. I returned to the paperwork in front of me. Jordan's requesting you vacate the house once the divorce is finalized. Texas law requires a 60-day cooling-off period. During that time, custody agreements and financial arrangements have to be worked out. If you and Jordan can sign an agreement, the court will finalize it after 60 days. If not, you're looking at 3 to 4 months before resolution. Could I request counseling? She asked quietly. You can, I told her, but it would have to begin during the cooling-off period and end before the case is resolved. Do you honestly believe counseling would change Jordan's mind? Lena let out a long, defeated breath. For the first time, it seemed she realized Jordan wasn't bluffing. He was finished. Privately, I couldn't help but admire Jordan's approach. With the help of a skilled attorney, he had positioned every move deliberately, building a case no court would ignore. I'll arrange a meeting with Jordan and his lawyer later this week, I told her. We'll gauge how rigid he is and see if there's room for negotiation. Her expression was raw with desperation. What do I do until then? Go home, I said simply. Be with your daughters. Try speaking to Jordan if you can. You're both still living in the same house, aren't you? She gave a small nod. Then talk to him. Beyond that, there isn't much you can do right now. Lena rose slowly, every movement weighted with exhaustion, and walked out of my office without another word. Jackie, my assistant, slipped quietly into the office. Her expression was frozen, wide eyes, stiff posture, the look of someone who had just stepped into disaster. Whatever she'd been handling clearly hadn't gone in her favor, and now she stood before me, waiting for fallout. I handed her the papers Lena had dropped off and instructed her to get in touch with my husband's attorney right away. A meeting needed to be scheduled as soon as possible. Jordan. My phone barely buzzed all day, which was odd. I figured Lena was probably burning up the lines, trying to sway anyone she could to convince me to back off from the divorce. Just as I was about to leave the office, my lawyer called. Lena's legal team wanted to set up a meeting immediately. Fine. The faster we got this resolved, the better. I already knew what came after this mess was over. My attorney promised to confirm the date and time soon. Until then, I had to keep my distance from Lena, avoid any unnecessary encounters at home or anywhere else, and make sure nothing I did could be twisted into some kind of accusation. When I pulled into the driveway that night, her car was already there. Inside, she was at the dining table with the kids, pretending to help them with their schoolwork. Both Jessa and Bianca glanced up at me with the same silent question. Why is she even here? I didn't say a word to Lena. I spoke only to the girls. I made dinner for everyone. Lena set out the plates, utensils, and glasses, then sat down at the table. The only conversation came from Jessa and Bianca, who chattered about their plans for the rest of the week. For a moment, everything felt almost normal. Almost. Except Lena was there, pretending like she belonged. She hadn't been buried in work that afternoon. I knew exactly where she had been. With him. Once the kids were tucked in, I retreated to my home office to finish some work and fire off a few emails. That's when Lena appeared in the doorway. Jordan, can we talk? She asked softly. It's too late for that, I said without looking up. I don't want this divorce, she whispered. I want us to be a family again. That's not an option anymore, I replied. Tell me how I can prove I love you. You can't, I said flatly. It's over. Why won't you even try to talk to me? She demanded. Do you honestly not understand? My voice rose. For 2 years I begged you to listen, about us, about the kids, and every single time you brushed me off. Well, I'm done. I've got nothing left to say. I think we should go to marriage counseling, she pleaded. For what? So we can waste months and a fortune only to end up right back here? Number, if you want therapy, go alone. I'm not going with you. Her voice cracked, desperate now. Jordan, if we do this, if we get divorced, the kids will be destroyed. I snapped. Oh, that's rich. Now you care about the kids? Where were those concerns when you were sneaking around with Shane? Her hypocrisy hit me like a wave, and I almost shouted, Your selfishness is staggering, Lena. What? She whispered, stunned. Go see that therapist you keep talking about. Or better yet, grab a suitcase and move in with your precious Shane. Just get out of my face. I pushed past her and went to the spare bedroom I'd been sleeping in for months. A hot shower sounded like the only thing that could clear my head. Standing under the water, I tried to steady my thoughts, until I heard the bathroom door creak open. Lena stood there. She reached for the shower door. What are you doing? I barked. Please, Jordan, she whispered. Let me in. We're still family. I need you. You need me? I held out my hand to stop her. You've taken me and the kids for granted for years. Now, when you finally face the consequences, you want to crawl back like nothing happened? Number, get out. Lena stared at me for a long moment, then turned silently and left. After I finished showering, I got dressed and checked on the kids. Her car was gone. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. Great, I muttered. Who could that be? Not exactly ideal timing. Moments later, my phone buzzed with new messages. 3 texts from Lena, all sent within the last hour. Fantastic. Shane, baby, who's at the door? Marie's voice drifted from the bedroom. She was a friend, though that was hardly the whole truth. I'll tell them it's not a good time, I said. Stay here. I'll deal with it. I slipped on my boxers, grabbed my phone, and headed for the kitchen. Damn it. I wasn't supposed to see Lena until Thursday. What did she want now? I answered the call. Yeah? It's me, Lena said, her voice coming through the line. Open the door, honey. I froze, unsure of my next move. Marie and I had been seeing each other for months. She was wild, spontaneous, everything Lena wasn't. Gorgeous, too, and always up for anything. The last thing I needed was Lena showing up unannounced and turning everything into chaos. I'd known for some time that her marriage was falling apart, and deep down I recognized that it was time for me to end things between us, too. But I hadn't expected it to happen now. Not like this. Not tonight. The timing was terrible. Damn it. I'll call you tomorrow morning, I muttered into the phone. Shane, she said quietly, I need to see you face to face. In the background, faint voices carried through the line, the hollow sound of footsteps, the creak of a door opening. Then her muffled thanks to someone nearby, followed by the abrupt click of disconnection. She'd hung up. 3 minutes later, there was knocking at my door. Shane, it's me. Open up. At that exact moment, Marie stepped out of the bedroom, swimming in one of my oversized t-shirts, confusion etched across her face. What's going on? She asked, bewildered. I fumbled for an explanation. It's an ex. I don't know why she's here. Maybe she's having a meltdown or something. Marie's eyebrow arched. So, are you going to let her in, or... I hesitated, then walked slowly to the door. A quick glance through the peephole confirmed it was Lena. With a resigned breath, I undid the lock. Marie lingered in the kitchen, nursing a glass of water. The moment the door swung open, Lena stepped inside, bag slung over her shoulder, and froze. Her eyes fell on Marie. Marie's eyes met hers. Neither spoke. Marie set her glass on the counter, turned on her heel, and strode back to the bedroom. In seconds, she was dressed. As she stormed past me toward the exit, she threw a sharp, parting shot over her shoulder. Don't bother calling me. Then she was gone. Lena stood motionless, staring at the door Marie had slammed behind her. Slowly, she turned to me. Who was that? I didn't answer her question. What do you want, Lena? She tossed her bag onto the couch and glanced around. Her eyes landed on the remains of dinner Marie and I had shared earlier. Plates still on the table, glasses half full. I saw the flicker of understanding cross her face. I retreated into the bedroom, pulled on a clean shirt and jeans, then grabbed a beer from the fridge before returning. Lena was already seated on the couch like she owned the place. "Why are you here tonight?" I asked flatly. "We weren't supposed to meet until Thursday." The truth hit me a second later. "Your husband kicked you out, didn't he?" She didn't answer right away. Just a small, almost imperceptible nod. "And now you're hoping to crash here," I said. "Jesus, Lena, what did you do this time?" Her jaw tightened. "Can I at least have a drink?" I poured her a glass of the wine she always preferred and handed it over. She swallowed half in a single gulp before speaking. "He's divorcing me," she murmured. "Said he doesn't want me as his wife anymore." A humorless laugh escaped me. "Can you blame him? We've been sleeping together for years. Honestly, I'm surprised he put up with it as long as he did. Weren't you supposed to be trying to fix things with him?" Lena's gaze hardened. "He said he wouldn't touch me again. Called me sloppy seconds." I exhaled sharply. "You're screwed, Lena, in more ways than one." My tone was sharper than I intended, dripping with sarcasm. "So what now? What's your plan?" For what it's worth, Marie hadn't exactly been impressed either. Lena stayed the night. With Marie gone, why not? Lena had always been good at distracting me from reality. Morning came and she was gone. Perfect. I dropped the girls off at school and headed to work. By mid-morning, my lawyer emailed. Lena's attorney wanted to arrange a meeting later in the week to iron out the divorce terms. Finally, progress. I needed after-school help for the kids. Our neighbor already covered 3 afternoons a week, snacks, homework, the basics, so maybe she could take on more. Work would need to adjust too, but my schedule was flexible enough. 2 days passed, still no sign of Lena, but every time I went into the bathroom or closet, more of her things had disappeared, probably shacking up with whoever she'd been seeing. I couldn't even bring myself to care. The girls didn't ask about her once, and what surprised me most was that she hadn't bothered to call them, not a single time. I called her parents. They had no clue about any of it. The state of our marriage, her absence, nothing. When I asked if she was staying with them, they were stunned. I muttered something about her being busy, promised she'd explain soon, and hung up before they could push for details. Let her break that news, not me. The next night, Lena still hadn't shown up, but her mother, Susan, appeared at my door. After hugging her granddaughters, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, her expression hard and unyielding. Her voice cut through the silence like glass. "What the hell is going on?" I spent nearly 2 hours unloading everything, every bitter truth, every betrayal. There was no point in hiding it anymore. The truth was going to come out eventually. That night, I told her everything about the last 3 years of our marriage. She was justified in her confusion. She had every reason to demand answers. Yet, when all was said and done, she simply lowered her eyes to the floor and mumbled an apology. Not for herself, but for Lena. But I didn't need her apology. I didn't need George's either. The only person who owed me anything was Lena, an apology for betraying me as a wife and abandoning her children as a mother. 3 days crawled past. Lena still hadn't come back. It was time to confront Shane. You remember, I knew exactly where he lived and the kind of life he led. So I did what I'd done before, waited by his car. When he finally emerged from the building and caught sight of me leaning against the hood, he froze mid-step, startled. I gave him a small gesture with my hand, casual, almost bored. "Relax. I'm not here to fight." "I'm guessing Lena's been staying at your place?" He exhaled slowly. "Yeah," he said quietly. "She's with me. Are you here to take her back?" "No," I replied without hesitation. "That's not why I'm here. All I want to know," I added, "is where she is, and if she's safe." He stared at the ground, muttering, "Honestly, I was hoping you'd come to get her. I don't want her living with me forever." His words hit me colder than I expected. "What?" "I thought you two were in love," I shot back. "Weren't you supposed to be soulmates or something?" He shrugged. "It was fun at first. She told me you two were solid, that she just wanted something on the side. When I realized you didn't know, I told her to go back to you, fix things, keep her family together. I thought she had. Guess I was wrong." Well, I told him, voice flat, she's your problem now. I don't want her, he snapped suddenly. Why not? I pressed. You've had no problem enjoying her company until now. What's changed? His temper cracked. I said I don't want her. Get her out of my apartment and take your wife home. I smirked, thin and bitter. Number, she's yours. I pushed myself off the hood, turned, and began walking away. Please! His voice cracked with urgency. Please, just take her. I'm not about to play dad to someone else's kids. I turned back to face him. He looked wrecked, tired, desperate. You should have thought about that a long time ago, I said. Then I got into my car, started the engine, and headed toward the exit. Halfway out of the lot, I stopped, reversed, rolled down the window. Tell her to come home, I said. Her kids are wondering where the hell she is, and her mom wants answers. Then I rolled the window up and drove away, leaving him standing there, hollow. The following day, while I was working from home, I heard the rattle of the front door lock. A second later, Lena stepped inside. I didn't say anything until she closed the door and made her way to the kitchen. Back for more of your things? I asked evenly. She froze, stunned. Jordan, I didn't know you were here. I didn't see your car outside. It's in the shop, I said. Shuttle dropped me off. I'm working here today. Silence. She stayed rooted where she was. So, I asked calmly, what are you here for? I thought I might come home, if that's okay with you. Jessa and Bianca are probably wondering where their mom disappeared to, I said. I figured you were still shacked up with your boyfriend. Oh, and your mom's here. She wants to see you. She's got about 1 million questions. Her head jerked up. My mother? What does she want? She wanted to know why you walked out, I said. Her voice trembled. What did you tell her? The truth. The meeting. The plan was simple enough. Meet at my lawyer's office, sit down with Lena and her attorney, go through custody arrangements, property, finances, civil, efficient. At least, that was the theory. When I arrived, Lena was already at the conference table with her lawyer, a woman named Claire. My attorney leaned toward me, quietly reminding me of our plan. Let her handle the talking. That's why I was paying her so much. We'd barely started the opening statements when Claire raised her hand. Before we proceed, Lena has something she wants to say. It might change things. Lena turned to me. Jordan, I don't want this divorce. She drew in a shaky breath. What would it take for you to walk away from this? For us to go back to the way we were? We can be a family again. I love you. I love the girls. You're the only person I've ever loved. Every nerve in me screamed to erupt, to lash out, but my lawyer's hand gripped mine firmly, grounding me. She whispered, let her finish. So I stayed quiet. I listened. She wouldn't stop speaking, her words sharp, defensive, almost rehearsed. You do realize it was never anything serious with him, right? She said. It was just something to take the edge off, a way to breathe when the pressure got too much. Our marriage didn't give me everything I needed back then, but that wasn't your fault. You never offered it, and I never asked. He was just there. An hour or two stolen each week, nothing more. And afterward, I came home calmer, more patient, as if that somehow made me a better wife, a better mother. She said it like a justification, like cheating on me had somehow been an act of devotion. In her mind, sleeping with Shane had been harmless, even virtuous. She convinced herself it was a coping mechanism, something I should simply accept. She truly believed I would stand by forever, quietly enduring. And that delusion is what led us here, sitting across from each other, dismantling our lives piece by piece, chasing some warped version of closure. She had to stop pretending this was reasonable. If she thought I'd stay while she made a mockery of our marriage, she was delusional. Lena's gaze softened, pleading for me to understand. My own stare didn't waver, my silence screaming, "Are you kidding me right now?" My attorney cleared his throat, seizing the lull to drag us back into the legal trenches and into his billable hours. Let's address the core issues of this divorce, he said smoothly. Lena's lawyer Claire nodded, and the negotiations began. Their voices faded to static in my head. I didn't care about the details. My terms were straightforward. I wanted the kids and the house. Lena could have the cars, the accounts, the furniture. I didn't care. If she was walking away from this family, she could carry that choice to its bitter end. The lawyers did what lawyers do, sending endless emails, stacking fees, until the evidence crushed Lena's side. Claire had seen the records, the absences, the neglect, the years Lena spent everywhere but with her children. She knew if we took this before a judge, Lena wouldn't stand a chance. Eventually, Lena signed. Reluctantly, but she signed. Relief washed over me, not happiness, just the quiet weight of survival. My focus now was singular: shield our daughters from any more damage than they'd already suffered. Lena, at first I refused completely. Jordan's demands felt ruthless. I didn't want to lose my family. I wanted to fight for it. Why did he have to be so immovable? Why was he so determined to destroy what little we had left? What I did outside our marriage, outside the kids, had never touched them. It hadn't taken anything away from them. So why couldn't I keep that small slice of happiness for myself? Why did he have to punish me for it? Claire tried to reason with me. She warned me that if Jordan took this to court, a judge would almost certainly hand him full custody. The thought of losing my daughters entirely terrified me, left me hollow. She admitted she'd pushed as hard as she could, but this was the best offer I'd get. Dragging it out would only make things worse. A year from now, the courts would probably force a settlement anyway, and I'd end up with even less. So I broke. I cried until my body felt emptied out. When I finally picked up the pen, my hands shook so violently I could barely follow Claire's instructions on where to sign. Each signature felt like surrender, surrendering my marriage, my home, the life I thought I'd built. I was signing away my children, signing away everything that defined me. Jordan. When my lawyer called to say Lena had signed, I felt a strange combination of relief and disbelief. Claire confirmed the documents would arrive later that day by courier. The agreement was simple. Lena would still see the girls, but rarely. They would live with me in the house. She had until the divorce was finalized to move out. We split the assets evenly. She would receive her share of the house's value once our youngest turned 18. She'd contribute a token $100 per child each month toward their education, nothing compared to the $500 I'd been putting aside since the day they were born. Lena kept her car and could take whatever furniture she needed for her new place. I even offered to buy bunk beds for the girls when they stayed with her. I didn't care about the stuff. I cared about stability for my daughters and putting an end to the chaos. Living with someone who had already emotionally checked out, someone absent even while sitting at the same table, had been slowly destroying me. At least now, with the papers signed, there was a path forward. Lena could live however she wanted. She could see the girls if they wanted it. If they didn't, I wouldn't force them. We'd figure that out later, maybe renegotiate. 60 days later, it was final. Lena. My phone vibrated, startling me. Claire's name flashed across the screen. The moment I answered, she didn't bother softening the news. Everything had been finalized at the courthouse. The divorce was official. Jordan and I were no longer married. The weight of it hit me square in the chest, leaving me breathless. It didn't feel real. The world around me was shifting too fast, slipping through my fingers before I could catch hold of anything solid. The worst part? I had nowhere to land. No apartment lined up. No word to my family about what had happened. Not even a plan for what came next. I had assumed Shane would give me a temporary place to stay, but he'd already told me that wasn't possible. I'd relied on that hope, and now it was gone. I didn't know who else to turn to, maybe, absurdly, Jordan himself. I wandered down the hall to his office, heart pounding. "Jordan, can we talk for a second?" He didn't glance up from his desk. "What about?" I don't have anywhere to stay. What am I supposed to do now?" His face tightened, his voice flat. "Lena, you've had weeks to figure this out. You can't stay here anymore." "Just for a little while?" My voice cracked with desperation. His stare was ice cold. "Go stay with your boyfriend. What's his name again?" I hesitated. He can't take me in. Why not? He shot back. You seem pretty happy with him. He didn't wait for my reply. He pushed back his chair, walked past me, and disappeared toward the kitchen. The hum of the coffee machine filled the silence he left behind. When I stepped into the living room, my eyes landed on the boxes, my boxes, already packed and lined up like silent reminders that I didn't belong here anymore. I felt unmoored, like I'd been cut adrift. Jordan. Lena refused to face reality. The divorce had been approaching for months, but she acted as if ignoring it would make it disappear. Her attorney had been crystal clear: find housing, arrange finances for the kids' schooling, make a plan. She'd done none of it. I knew she'd let the deadline pass, so I called her lawyer, reminded them she had until midnight to move her things out. I was certain she wouldn't do it in time. Walking into the master bedroom, the one she still slept in, I began dismantling it piece by piece. The bed frame, the headboard, the nightstands. Everything came apart and was dragged into the hallway, destined for the garage. "Lena!" I called, hefting part of the frame. "Do you even want any of this? If you do, take it. If not, I'm selling it. Either way, it's leaving the house." She stood there, stunned into silence. I kept hauling furniture downstairs, mattresses, box springs, anything that was hers. She sat in the living room, tears running quietly, doing nothing to help. "Come on," I snapped finally. "If you want it, move it. Otherwise, it's gone." Hours ticked by before she even touched her phone. She made a few calls, no idea to whom, then tossed it into her purse. Moments later, mine rang. It was George, her father. "Jordan, what the hell's going on? Lena says you're throwing her out." "Did she tell you why, George?" I asked evenly. "Why does it matter?" he shot back. "Why are you doing this to her?" "It's a long story," I said. "One you and Susan need to hear from me directly. Come over. I'll explain everything." He agreed. They'd be at the house within the hour. After hanging up, I found Lena. "Are you going to tell your parents the truth about the last 3 years? Or should I do it for you?" Her eyes went wide, fear written all over her face. She hadn't told them. Not about the affair, not even about the divorce. They were about to be blindsided. Minutes later, the front door slammed, and I heard her car screech out of the driveway. She was probably heading to Shane's place. George and Susan showed up exactly on time. I laid it all out for them: the affair, the countless attempts I'd made to salvage the marriage, the terms we'd finally agreed on. I even handed them the signed divorce papers. Shock gave way to devastation, and devastation curdled into anger. The disappointment on their faces was unmistakable. They were furious at their daughter. Their eyes drifted toward the packed boxes in the living room. "So, what happens now?" Susan asked quietly. "My priority is the kids," I said. "Restructuring the house, adjusting my schedule, that's all I care about." Susan's voice trembled. "Is there any chance you'd consider forgiving her? Trying again?" I shook my head. "I've already tried. For 3 years I begged her to end it. She wouldn't. She made her choice. She's an adult. I had no right to tell her what to do anymore. She was no longer under my control, and I couldn't demand she stop. Her actions made everything crystal clear. Family wasn't her priority anymore. Her boyfriend and the life they shared now came first. I asked her parents if they could take her in, but they just exchanged a look, silent, and shook their heads. Finally, George spoke, his tone heavy. "She made her own choices. She'll have to live with them. They wished me luck, said they'd be there for the kids if I ever needed support." I thanked them, and they left. After the door closed, I grabbed the phone and called Shane. He answered. "Put her on," I said. There was a pause, just quiet breathing before I heard her voice. "Yeah? Your parents were just here," I said. "If you're smart, don't call them for a while. They're furious." I waited, but she said nothing. "What do you want me to do with your stuff?" I asked. "I'm moving it all to the garage. If it's not gone in a week, I'm giving it away. Your choice." And I hung up. If she couldn't accept the divorce, she needed professional help. That's how she'd always been. Pretend problems didn't exist until someone else gave in. A week later, I hired movers, packed up everything I thought she might want, and stored it temporarily. I figured she'd eventually come around and tell me where to send it. Lena stayed with Shane. He called nearly every day, begging me to let her come back. My answer never changed. She doesn't live here anymore. The first time I said it, he swore at me and hung up. He started showing up near my office, desperate. "You've got to help her," he said. "She won't leave my apartment. She won't get out of bed. She hasn't been to work in days. Please, just come talk to her." "That's not my problem anymore," I told him. "You wanted her. Now she's yours to deal with." I got in my car and drove away. Later, I called her parents again. I told them what Shane had said and suggested they visit her, maybe push her toward therapy. She was sinking deeper into her own spiral, refusing to pull herself out. That was all I could do. Afterward, I went home to my daughters. Dinner wasn't going to make itself. 1 year later, "Shoes off, girls! Come on, hurry up, let's move!" I called out. The past year had been chaos, new routines, endless adjustments, selling the house and starting over. The new place was nothing like the old one. A backyard pool, a driveway big enough for several cars, even a trailer. Yeah, cars, plural. Why so many? Because life changed after the divorce. I met Danica. We hit it off immediately. Same interests, same sense of humor. Over time, we became inseparable. Eventually, I asked her if she and her daughter Mira wanted to move in. She took a week to think about it, then said yes. I told her up front I wasn't ready for marriage yet. But sharing a home and expenses? That felt right. She sold her house, packed up, and joined us. Things have gone smoothly since. Now there are 3 girls under one roof, Bianca, Jessa, and Mira. Danica and I are solid, and Mira treats me like her dad. Most nights, I read her bedtime stories. Bianca and Jessa adore her too. They play, they laugh, they read to her before bed. We've made traveling in the camper a tradition, always finding new places to explore. It works for us, and I'm not about to ruin that by rushing into a marriage that might shake what we've built. The hardest part? Lena barely sees her daughters, maybe once a month, if that. She eventually got her own apartment near work, but her visits are rare. The girls spend a few hours with her and then come home. I always remind them her absence isn't their fault. Sometimes I wonder if I'll need therapy for them, or maybe for myself, to keep everything balanced. Thankfully, Mira's presence gives them comfort. The 3 girls are inseparable now, always playing and keeping each other busy. Danica's perspective. Jordan, the girls, and I, we've become a family. Life with him feels effortless. There's so much laughter here. The kids get along so well that every day feels lighter. We spend a lot of time on the road in the camper, exploring parks full of trails and activities. The girls hike, ride bikes, and roam freely. Out there are no rigid schedules or constant hovering, just freedom. When we travel, we let them be kids, and it works. What I cherish most is how deeply I enjoy being alone with Jordan, just us, without anyone intruding. Even now, it amazes me that Lena walked away from him so easily, as if he meant nothing to her. Her pride was so towering that she never noticed how desperately he needed her, her closeness, her care. It was never only about her, yet she always acted as if the entire world revolved around her needs. She wanted to have everything without surrendering a single thing. That kind of thinking felt childish, reckless even. And in the end, it cost her everything, her husband, her children, her home. Maybe she found whatever it was she thought she was searching for. As for me, I know I've already found mine. Lena. This past weekend, while I was out running errands, I caught sight of Jordan. He was with his girlfriend and the girls, her little one tagging along too. They were laughing, carefree, like nothing in the world could touch them. The kids wandered along, ice cream dripping down their hands, and Jordan's fingers were gently laced with hers. And all I could think was, that should be me. I should be the one walking beside him, holding his hand. Why does life have to twist itself into such cruel knots? I don't even have an answer. I know I made mistakes. Choices I didn't realize would push Jordan away from me. Then Shane cast me out, and now he's gone as well. I ache for them. I ache for the children. I ache for Jordan. I ache for the comfort of his hand, his smile, the quiet weight of him beside me in bed. I ache for the home I lost. I ache for the life I used to know.